Ladies and gentlemen, it's 20 years of doing this exact thing. Pat yourself on the back. You have made a big difference. With only, well, less than half of the faculty who have attended these things reporting, we know that you have made a difference in the lives of 161,000 students. And since I know that it's fewer than half that have reported on those forms, I suspect it's more like double that. That's a big deal. That makes a big difference to the workforce, and it makes a big difference to our economy as a nation. Pat yourself on the back, for sure. Go. This is a special celebration. We are going to hear from our president in a little bit. Collin College has been absolutely fantastic at supporting this work every year. I work with lots of NSF grants across the nation, and I have to tell you, the colleges that support those grants, I don't know any of them that are as wonderful as Collin is to provide us facilities, support for our labs, so that we can do what we need to do. Now, there are Collin faculty that are always involved, and of course that is free for the Collin faculty. Your coming here is free, and we even give you a little bit of travel money, so that's pretty cool. This started at a time when professional development budgets were even less than what they are right now. We are going to show you a video that is kind of a retrospective on where we came from, and then we'll introduce Dr. Matkin and some other folks in the audience. Thank you. Enjoy your food while you watch the video. I hope you understand now, and that's why I wanted you to all see this. This has been a labor of love for 20 years for me, and a labor of love for lots of years for others too. I don't think anybody's been in it every year for 20 years except me probably, but it is the best week of the year, the absolute best week of the year. I will say that there are those in this room who have been involved from the get-go or have been involved off and on from the get-go. Anyone who's been at Working Connections before or who has supported Working Connections before, stand up, please. Come on, stand up, you guys. Okay, lots of people here. We have our grant support people that are here. We have people from other colleges that are here. And the thing that is exciting about how many new people are here is that you can spread the word, because we're going to do everything in our power to keep this thing going. I have plans for when our grant is over. My president is laughing at me because he knows I've always got something else I want to do for us. Anyway, before I move on, I want to recognize Martha Hogan real quickly. Would you stand up, please? Martha Hogan was at Richland College for that very, very first one of these. She and I had 3 months to put it together, and some of the people in those pictures actually were on a board to figure out how to help us, but I'm not sure how much help they gave us. We just did it. And I would like to thank you for that. I'm just delighted that this has continued for this long, because it has made such a difference in the nation. And as I told you, Collin College has really supported us. From the time when we had a previous president, Kerry Israel, let me do this. The initial first year when it was over at Richland, he's like, "You're gonna go to Richland? I just hired you. Why are you doing that?" Well, that's because where the money was and where we were starting it, but the agreement was it was moving here after that, so it was very good. But since 2015, we have had Dr. Matkin here. Dr. Neil Matkin, you want to start coming up? He has been extremely supportive of everything we've done, and I want him to have a moment to give you a few remarks. I just can't tell you how thankful I am for the support that we've had.
Greetings, everyone. everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. You know, this is, I leaned over to Ann at the table and I said, this takes me home. My first 7 years in higher education outside of being a student and a student employee were as a full-time faculty member teaching information technology. And so I can think back, and I would have loved to have had somebody in the Novell era and the moving from ARPANET to the modern Ethernet. I would have loved to have had some folks to help me figure out how to configure and keep computer labs running with the software that we needed running at the time, because that was a real chore. We didn't have some of the advanced things we have today. But I do want to make a few comments. And I appreciate the homecoming, because it is a homecoming for me. It's where I started. You are my peeps, whether you like it or not. So I'm kind of stuck in that world. I'd come out of a Navy submarine service, top secret clearance as a navigation tech. Worked in the dual mini-SINs, and went over to Lamar Institute of Technology, needing only 2 classes, DD 214 in hand, showing all the training I'd received, 2 years worth. And I needed 2 classes to get an associate's degree in electronic technology. And I sat in the first class and I heard the instructor say that satellites could not get smaller than the mini array size. And I just come off a fast attack boat that had a satellite receiver that was a tube about this size. And I couldn't convince him that other technology existed. And so I attended exactly 1/2 of one class, don't have that associate's degree to this day. I have another, but not that one. So let me go backwards a little bit, because what we're really talking about is helping people learn to cope with innovation in a world that simply won't stand still. I heard somebody on the video talking about having to relearn things, learn over and over and over again. If you're in the IT field and you're teaching it, nothing could be more true. So when I think about it, I go back to Negroponte's book, Being Digital. And when that first came out over 2 decades ago, we couldn't even truly envision what it meant going from analog to fully digital, even though he explained it to us in very, very intimate detail. But now we look, and when we think about where we procure our music, or our movies, or our books, or other materials, or every storefront out there, including United Airlines, which hasn't perfected theirs just yet, has a storefront on the web. It's a very different world than what we came from. So all of that is entirely dependent upon 2 things: information technology to make it happen, and cybersecurity to keep it secure and keep it operating honestly. And those are the 2 things we're teaching across all of our programs. And we've been focusing on those things for many years, the video demonstrated, here at Collin College. $37 million in grants. Not a small amount. How many of you have been in the position of having a proposal from one Ann Beheler and trying to A, get a word in edgeways, and B, say no? How many of you, I want to see a show of hands of people in this room who have actually said no to Ann. Okay, I see 1. All right. To be fair, she'd been drinking that evening. No. Ann is a very persuasive person. The first year I got here, I got a major presentation from her, and when she saw how easily I rolled over, the next year she just told me what she wanted. So, we have been a leader in innovation, but we've been a leader because we've had a champion. And Ann, you are that champion, and the idea of you retiring is very difficult to swallow.
I didn't retire though.
Well, I know.
Really?
I know this. Let me tell you what Ann did do. I don't want to work full time on contract. I'd like to work on contract. Here's the amount I would like to make. And after a year of that, by the way, I think I need a raise. Don't you, Dr. Matkin? And you're one of a kind, and I'm grateful we've had you. You know, Collin now operates 8 campuses, including one fully online campus called iCollin. We've worked hard to put our money where our mouth is, and we've got systems today that are beyond anything I could have imagined during my university faculty years. We've got systems that allow a student to come to an advisor and say, you know what, I'm studying this, but I want to study that. What exactly do I have to take to move from this to that? Because students, they always make up their minds to stick with it, right? We're able to tell them exactly what the difference is and the gap is, but it goes beyond that. We're able to look across our universe and see what's happening in our classrooms and see what's happening in a very holistic sense across our entire college. For example, I can look out and see that we have a 7.8% increase in enrollment this fall at this juncture. Whether it will stay or not, I don't know. That's pretty cool. Is that the most important thing? No, it's not. I can look out and see that our new campuses are doing well. Guess what else I can look at from an IT perspective? I can look at students that came from the areas where there are new campuses, that maybe they're not going to those colleges, they're going to other colleges in our footprint. And guess what I found out? If you build a campus in somebody's backyard, they may not attend that campus, but more people from that community are going to college. Isn't that an interesting thing to be able to look at? And I can measure that. So all those things come from tools. It comes from tools that we put in place, we maintain, and we try to build something that allows us to understand the world that we're living in. My wife asked me, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story that I'm going to get off the stage. My wife, we've been married for 36 years, we'll be 37 the next June that runs around. I got to keep track, and I repeat it often, because if I forget 1 year, I'm in a lot of trouble. But we've had a wonderful marriage, 3 grown boys, grandchildren now. And she retired 2 years ago from being a high school counselor. And the first year she spent trying to do an Beheler on me, trying to convince me it was time for me to retire. And some of you here that work for Collin may agree with her, I don't know. But I told her I'm not ready to retire yet. And so finally, just in the last week, she said, what is it? Is it the money? I said, you know, it's never been about the money. What is it? I said, Jan, take a student in the classroom that doesn't have any clue what they want to do for the living or their life, and to turn them on to something like data communications or software engineering was something I felt strongly as a faculty member. And I feel it strongly as a college president. Giving people hope and opportunities, it's not just about going from minimum wage to some mid-level wage. It's about creating a life path. And friends, my youngest son is a software engineer who's making more money than I ever made at 31 years of age, and I'm just kind of shocked at what people are paying him to sit at home and code for them. But he's making the bucks. And he's in that life, and I've had a special conversation with him because he's followed kind of the same path that I've gone down. But I want to tell you about another person, and this is a student of mine who, on a senior project, working with a case tool made by a company called KnowledgeWare. I don't even know if they're still alive, but it was a tool that you built your computer systems engineering, software engineering. You built your dependencies and your flowcharts and all of that, and it produced COBOL code at that time. And the code was operational. You could run it, and it worked. You could see what happened and what didn't. With this student, and I'll call his name Matthew because that's his actual name. Matthew, we had divided up into peer groups for these projects. The projects was intensive. And I learned something about women and men. My office was right next to the advanced lab. And I learned that when a woman student, a female student, was at the computer and it failed, she would say routinely, "What did I do wrong?" And the men, when it failed, would beat the crap out of the computer and the printer. I went through printer pieces because men's computer program failed. So I learned something about the genders, just listening on these projects. But we had a peer review situation, and Matt was a procrastinator. And he got voted by his team off of his team. And he had to do the project solo, all parts by himself. Them's were the rules. But his team voted him off the island, the other 4 students. I'd never seen it happen in all the capstone classes I'd taught. We come to senior dinner. Matt's graduated with a C out of that class, I might add. And he fell asleep in this cold gazpacho soup, face down, burbling, blah, 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 such that the president of the college called me after the fact and said, "Do you think you may be working them a little hard if they're falling asleep in their soup?" I said, "Dr. Ward," I said, "do you think that procrastination should be rewarded?" Matkin went on to be a CIO for a major grocery chain in California. Matkin today lives between his vineyard estate in Washington State and another piece of property in Oregon. And he wrote me a love letter that said, man, best thing that ever happened to me was getting voted off that team. I'm gonna tell you something. It's impressive what we can do. And when you see a student gain confidence, that they can make the computer do things they want it to do, or they understand the system and they start thinking in terms of system think, and they suddenly see how other things are connected. Folks, we have a royal place in this profession. And I'm proud of what you guys do. I want you to know that it was a highlight of my life to be a part of it. And I loved that my students had an average salary upon graduation, $4,000 higher in a little place called Texas A&M College Station when I was in the business in East Texas. So God love you. Thank you, Ann, for everything you've done. And thank you for letting Collin College be a major part of this.
All right, good afternoon. I'm glad to be here today. We are going to go through a journey through the lens of data visualization and analytics. I know most of you are starting that program, so what we try to do today is try to bring a closer and show you some demonstrations about how what the first couple of days, if you have the keynote speaker the first day talked about data, the second keynote speaker talked about the containers. We'll need all that during our data science curriculum in AI and machine learning. And yesterday you talked about the demand of data out there, and now we have CompTIA coming up with a certification program. So most of you are teaching all these classes and most things are happening. I think it started about a year ago. Mark and I were chatting about his 20th anniversary and said, okay, what can I do to help you? And we said, Mark, do you have any kind of data for the last 20 years? And we started to collect all this stuff, and hopefully by January, beginning of this year, we got some kind of data which we think that we can show you what we come up with. And the story, you know, when you have a data, we can tell a story. And the story is pretty simple. Impact. Okay, Anne has been telling us impact on students, impact on everything. So, and that was a message about impacting, how much impact this working connection had over the last 20 years. So we all know that. It was the Richland College that we all started. Richland now is the part of the Dallas College up there. All right, I just want to know whether you're paying attention. Right, I'm a faculty member, so I ask the students after you watch the video, you're paying attention or not. So when was the first working connection in person? Okay, give me 1 second.
No.
It was in the video. 2010. We had the first working connection when we converted to online. 2015. Man, you're not paying attention. You fail. Everybody gets an F.
You're tough.
All right, so besides Frisco, we all come here every summer. All right, we have been doing the working connection north, and we're doing the working connection south. So at least one city up in north. Lansing. Okay, then we got the Wisconsin state. And then we do this working connection south is in Jacksonville. Okay? So thank you, everyone. So you might have not seen this, but I was there at the Richland College when we had the first working connection. And this is the letter. And I just want to bring it up because look at it, what it says. IT Faculty Development Institution, you know. Richland College became Dallas College, you know, and the campus had what we call the first working connection was held at the, I got it right here. Okay, this is the Radisson Hotel, which is now the DoubleTree Hotel. You know, but what working connection is still here? Companies have changed, things have gone up, right? Okay, but IT faculty development is still going on. Okay? So the first working connection was from August 12 to 16, and I had the privilege to be there. And the this letter that Anne wrote to us, welcoming us. Okay? So that was her signature right here. So this was the Radisson Hotel. And this was the first 6 tracks we had over there. Anybody remember VBNet? Okay, .NET Server, Okay? And the first class I took was the web multimedia class taught by Matkin at the first working connection. All right, so now we can fast forward to 20 years of data collecting, how things work, and if you're teaching these classes, I'll show you some lessons learned while collecting data and things like that. Okay? So this is what Mark gave me. Okay, Mark gave me a spreadsheet. He said, hey, this is what I have. All right, so if you look at the spreadsheet, he had all the people who attended on the rows, and he had 50 rows of all the working connections we had so far. This is the 46th working connection. 46th. Okay? So he did all this data, and so I can get the information out who attended what, but that's all I can do. And that's what your students are going to get if you have a data science program, this kind of data. Okay? So what we had to do, what we call data cleansing, data wrangling, we had to clean up the data. Okay? So we took the X sheet, because what happened in data analytics, all your data has to be tall and slim. It cannot be wide. So I had to take a wide spreadsheet, 50 columns, and massage it into a tall and slim thing out there. So columns were there were a lot of errors in the sense that, you know, when you teach data science or data integrity, make sure the data is correct. We had to talk about the data integrity and data normalization, okay? And all the stuff was done really quickly with using some of the tools out there. Okay, so I use pivot table, I use find and replace, I use Tableau prep, because what happens is if you look some of the stuff here, there's the HCC and there's the Houston CC. All right, then the Houston Community College in the next record. So we had to clean all the stuff out so that it became Houston Community College or Houston HCC or whatever we want to do it. And I used the visualizations you're going to see is from the Power BI and the Tableau. Everything was dumped into that. All right, for the data integrity sake, I will tell you there was no record for summer 2002. The only thing we know is how many people attended. We didn't have more details by the track. Okay, and some data was missing in 2004. So this is what we did. We converted that spreadsheet up here into this format so that the Tableau and other information can be brought into its system. And now we start doing the visualization. Remember, Mark said I got about 10 minutes. All right, so this is the impact. We have 1,080 people, unduplicated people have come to Working Connections. Okay, this is the 46th session up there. And if I got duplicated, that means you're coming back again to take the classes. We got 3,064 records out there. Okay? So that means people have come twice for Working Connections. Okay? And then 292 institutions have participated so far in the Working Connections, and 41 states. There's at least one college from 41 states have come to this. Look at the massive impact this Working Connection has created. And then the best of all is we have 190 different emerging technologies tracks. 190 different tracks out there. So let me recognize there are 190 instructors, right?
Yep.
If you've taught a class for Working Connection, or if you're teaching it right now, please stand up.
Yep.
You are the one making a lot of difference. If you've ever taught it. So that's a massive impact of this Working Connection. All right, and then if you look at the IT faculty from which colleges people are coming, it's all across. Obviously the Collin and Dallas colleges are close by, so obviously the travel funding is not there, so it's very easy to just pick up a car and come here. But if you look at that, you know, we got Georgia, we got Michigan, we got Florida, we got all over where there's a lot of people come regularly for this Working Connections. Now, when it's the top colleges by participation, so 78 IT faculty, let's say from Collin College, attended it, but they must have taken more than one Working Connection track. So the impact was 276. Okay. Understanding how to track them? It's a duplication of that track out. Again, for the national impact, with people, this is just a sample of it. Okay? But remember, I got 3,064 records, multiplied by 46 different tracks. Okay, so humongous amount of data from a small spreadsheet I was able to create, humongous amount of data sets mining so that we can come up to this analysis. All right, so these are the what's called the location and the modality up there. Okay, so SF stands for Summer Working Connection in Frisco. We have 1,631 people have attended at these locations. Okay? And now what happened is, have you heard in the video, Mark and I said that because of the COVID, we went online a lot, and this is the first time we have done a hybrid model. Okay? We have 8 tracks. We got 5 what I call in-person tracks, and we got 3 online tracks. Okay? So we've got 8 tracks this summer. This is the first time we are doing a hybrid model. So that shows you on the online, we got 366 enrollment. The what called J will be the Jacksonville Summer Working Connection so far over. And then the WO is the winter online and overtook the what I call the winter face-to-face. Okay? So that's how we start analyzing data to start understanding what exactly happening up there. And now this is the impact on the colleges. Okay, and how many tracks were offered at each different locations up there. But this is the key. I took all 1,080 people who had ever attended unduplicated records and saw how many people have attended each one of those tracks. And you can see it here. There's somebody, the 3 of them have 24. They've attended 24 sessions out of 46. Okay, I should be somewhere 19 or 18 or something like that. But what you're seeing, we're seeing a lot more new people. We're seeing a lot of new people who are coming for first track, second track, and that's great. Because we are aging, right? I was much younger with the black hair 20 years ago. All right, so that's good news. That's good news. And remember, we are not collecting too much information about you, right? The only thing you tell me when Mark sends the registration form, what's your name and what's your college.
That's it.
I was just telling Mark, if we start collecting how many years you're teaching, how many stuff you're teaching, okay, are you the first timer teaching computer science, whatever, at the campus, then we can get more data. And just to show you what analytics can be done, and then how can we start doing a lot of information out there. All right? Every dot represents 42. 41, I think I was going to add Hawaii because we had one instructor from Hawaii taught last year or 2 years ago. So I think we had impacted 42 states, except for the Northeast and a couple of Rockies mountain states, right? We have covered the whole country. That's the biggest impact for you.
We've
right?
got Montana here.
Oh, we got Montana? Okay. We got it. Okay. We got it. It's not in data. We put it on data now. All right? So that's the story about the data, the impact out there. Okay? So thank you, everyone. And as already said, we have corporate sponsors who donate a lot for the time and equipment and money. All the track instructors over the last 20 years, all the IT faculty participants, and the best of all, the team, what I call the team, right? We have Mark, Christina, Amy, Debbie, and of course the leader.
Oh, no.
We cannot forget the leader for her passion, okay? And an ever-dying thing. See, we never said no, right? I'm gonna do it. We go after the grant. We're gonna go again and again. 1-year extension, 2-year extension, and then she will say no, working connection will continue. I guarantee you. Okay? Thank you very much. The sun is always shining. You guys changed the life. Appreciate it.